Northfield was here. We found it. We discovered it. Nobody knew it was here, but once we brought a group of teachers together and parents and students, Northfield began to emerge. And there's a parable about somebody who discovers in the Bible a pearl or a precious gem of great value. And he discovers it because he was searching for it. So when I say Northfield was here, I mean all the elements necessary: the trivium, the teachers who had a good classical education, students who come and, if presented with the correct stimulus, will learn, interested parents. All the essentials for Northfield were here. We just had to bring them together. And Northfield happened. Nobody really started it. It happened. It's like introducing all the correct chemicals in the right mix, in the right environment. A response, a reaction happens, and that reaction was Northfield.
I think going back to what makes Northfield a little bit different to me is we do have 7 simple rules, and we are asking students to turn over their phone. We are asking students to tuck their shirts in, and some very basic things, and they are elements of respect. I think that the school is not heavy-handed. The school could be heavy-handed. Certainly when I was young, teachers still spanked. They used wooden boards to spank, and that was heavy-handed at times. I got the point. I understood it. But I think Northfield is trying to do it with love and through love, but it is a respect thing. I think the students should have at least a desire to try to out of respect, abide by the rule.
When I was trying to come up with a topic for this paper for Coleman, I was thinking I should address something about Northfield and how it is a community, a very strong family. So I wanted to talk about that. So I thought about talking about having a mentorship program during the convocation hour to support a family, that interconnected aspect of it. But I decided at the last minute to drop that topic and go to something Adam and I had talked about, which is having one large round table in the lunchroom, because that is very symbolic. It's very an important image of having, the whole family of Northfield eat at one single table every day.
I remember joking to my mom one day when I came home from a especially bad day, saying, "Mom, remember that Northfield school? Like, maybe I'll just transfer there," and kind of, didn't think anything of it. But she took it a little more seriously, and so we set up a date to shadow sometime in December, and I came on a day that I didn't have school so that no one would know that I was even thinking about leaving. And I came expecting not to like it. First impression was coming up into this big building with barbed wire fences and this factory building. And that first impression gave me the wrong idea of the school, because when I walked in, everything from there went so well. And we went to the office, and Mr. Larson got us going. And then my mom and I were just hanging out downstairs, and I remember specifically Susan Elder came up to talk to us and introduced herself with some other of the upperclassmen, and they were so friendly, and they took us up to convocation. And then my mom left after convocation, and I ended up shadowing Margaret. But I just remember throughout the whole day thinking, these people care about me, and they don't even know me. Everyone was so genuine, and all day people asked me, "Oh, what's your name?" And they would introduce themselves, and "How do you like it?" and "What school do you go to?" Are you homeschooled? Are you coming to Northfield? Everyone was just so interested in me. And so I got in the car with my mom after my day, and she looked at me expectantly, what'd you think? And I just started crying because I wasn't expecting people to be so loving and welcoming.
What we do here at Northfield is we practice, or we do what we call convocation. The English word convocation comes from the Latin word convocare, which means to call together. So we call together the students, the faculty, the administration, and people from the community. And we all gather together to discuss those things that we all are interested in learning about. There are subjects that we don't normally like to consider. In the day of political correctness, we're not taught what to think, but we try to teach the students how to think. And therefore, we talk a lot about the why behind the what, as Dr. Jeffrey Davis likes to say. Why do we think what we do? What are the basic issues in any discussion? It's important to define the words that we use so that we're communicating well. And that really is the goal of Northfield, but specifically of Convocation.
The older I get, the more I believe that school and education is irrepressible. It will happen.
Northfield is founded on the principles of that God put us all into motion, and God created us. And the other thing I think that we try to do anyway is say that when you're working or obeying rules or a student in a class, you're doing it for the eternal and not for the temporal. And that's an element of that idea that if you're just responding to what the teacher's telling you to do that day, or you're just responding to the 127 rules that we've set in front of you, then you'll only correct your behavior for that time, for that rule. Versus, again, the idea that we're really working for the eternal. Paul says in 1 Corinthians that very thing, that we're putting on an eternal body. And if we're working for the eternal, then there's a greater good than just today or this minute or this rule.
Because an education should always be an encounter with reality. And one of the most important parts about Northfield is that we try in the best and safest way possible to introduce our students to the real world, as they will have to live in it. The major issue about Work Wednesday is its contrast to the liberal arts. In the liberal arts, you are studying the transcendent. In the illiberal arts, or the servile arts, you are studying the daily, the mundane. You are studying those things which make your life worth its hire, so to speak. A man works with his hands. People must earn a living. The craft has to become an enterprise. So Work Wednesday begins to give the student that idea that there is a contrast between the transcendent and the mundane, and that they always work together. The other important part of it is that the end of all education should be service.
See, I see people really come together during Work Wednesday. And as I sit back and think about why that is, Work Wednesday is an opportunity for people to, first of all, go out and work for somebody else without expecting anything in return. We've had people offer to pay for what we do for them, and we say, no, we won't take it. There's something very valuable about that. That helps all of us become less self-absorbed and more community-minded as to what we can do for people. The other thing is we often do meaningless jobs, like hauling brush from point A to point B. Now, I don't know about you, but when I get up in the morning. That's not what really invigorates me during the day. But we get out there and we enjoy it. And usually there are mentors there who help the students learn how to work.
Yes, the age integration, the idea that we as teachers and students go out together, very great question, very important part of Northfield. Oh my gosh, we can get away from all our academic progressions and we can work together. A very wonderful opportunity for each to know the other in a circumstance that is suitable. I love the idea that an older one will go out with a younger one and have that opportunity to get to know and to model behavior and to develop relationship.
I think one of the great things about Northfield is the older student does have to interact with the younger student. The nature of the school, the proximity from student to student, the activities have a senior oftentimes across from or near a 6th grader or a 7th grader. And I think that's great because, again, I believe younger students need mentors, and they can't live in a box. They can't live in a vacuum. And so if there's a great responsibility upon the older student, because what's that younger student supposed to be someday? What's that younger student supposed to aspire to be someday? So I think the older students have a great responsibility. And I think the older student, once they realize that, they'll rise to that challenge. I think good students will rise to that challenge. And but it's true. I think it's true all throughout all of our life. I don't care if it's a small child or an older person or whatever. We need mentors. We need someone to look up to. And even at my age, I'm still looking for people to mentor me and tell me how to go through something that I've never been through before. Because it's, life's a series of experiences. And how do I know at 12 years old what 18 is going to look like? And that 18-year-old is showing me through his actions daily. And so I think it's really, really important. And I think it's really unique about Northfield that happens, and that, our administration tells us, tells that older student, you need to stoop, and tells that younger student, you need to pay attention.
At first it was just the people. That's what got me here. And then the education was something that followed. And realizing these teachers care about me and they want me to do well, and they'll do whatever it takes to help me do well. And I'm being challenged in a good way. I'm not just doing busy work all the time. That was, the second part, what came later. And so.
It's an interesting question when it comes to Northfield. Usually when people think about a school, you think about the building. It's the first place you see. Come into town and show people where you go to school seems to be that's how we display or think about or communicate what our school is. And if that's where you're starting from, Northfield's a very strange place. I'm sitting here in a chair that has one arm and the other one's missing. Behind me is a whiteboard that you can't erase. I share an office with Mrs. Seagard. This is really her room, and she does a nice job decorating it, but it's just an upstairs room. This is not a normal school. We're in a factory. We don't have windows looking outside over our nice green grass. It's just here, and I appreciate very much the generosity of Love Box Company and Pratt in more recent years to let us stay here and to nurture us here, but the physical location isn't much. It's not nice. It's not grand. It's not something that you'd show off and say, look at this school. But the thing I would still show off, definitely show off about Northfield, is the heart of the students and the heart of the staff and the heart of the teachers and the whole heart of the history of Northfield. It's a place where real education takes place, not surface education, but where it's a relationship between teacher and student. And that's all that matters. The rest of it is secondary or even tertiary. It's very unimportant, the physical locale. So we don't have much to take pride in necessarily in our building, but the relationship that makes education happen is where we get our true excitement about learning and our true yearning for learning. Ha, it rhymed.
The fact that the school is unique and the fact that the school is an opportunity where we don't have the traditional things that people look to. We don't have a very polished, turnkey building where there's nothing to do in it. Our carpets have big seams that are held down by duct tape, and it's not attractive carpet necessarily. It's very simple, it's very presentable, but the environment is not typically what you would expect. And the environment is more similar to what they had years ago, the one-room schoolhouse, where you have a number of students who are different ages who come together and learn at the same time.
And this location, this place has served Northfield very well, but it is absolutely not the essence of Northfield. Northfield can happen in lots of different places, and they may have different names, but as I said before, you simply have to look. And I guarantee you that if you look, you will discover schools all around and places that are capable of being schools. So while this one is good, it's by no means exclusive, and I'm sure that Northfield could thrive in many different sorts of places without having to change dramatically in terms of its primary mission.
On the other hand, there's a sense in which our physical humbleness really adds to what we are, because it makes it more of a point that we don't have the fancy gold inlaid light switches, perhaps, or the really cool electronic gizmos that make education happen, it seems, all by itself. But the fact that we underemphasize that really is a part of our character and a part of who we are as a school. It shows that the learning, the love of truth, the search for truth is what's important. And maybe even that adds to this Northfield treasure where you're searching, digging for the truth. You have to dig through our not so beautiful exterior to find the great truth that's on the inside.
I don't think that Northfield is something that can be, that has an end goal. Northfield is a process. It's a stage along the way for children who are learners to go through. And if it has a goal at all, it's to help the student make a transition from what I'll call adolescence to critical thinking, and from critical thinking to a more mature membership in community, so to speak. That's the real purpose, I think, of any school, is to help make that transition.